welcome everybody. My name is Peter Palumbo. I'm the Director of Academic Advising, and I also oversee the Undeclared Advising Program. Just to give you a little bit of an overview of what it means to be undeclared at Providence College, every year about 200 students start as undeclared students. So that's roughly 20% of our incoming population. The number one thing I tell undeclared students is to breathe. That we're going to help you figure out what you like. We're going to help you figure out what your passion is, what your academic interests are, how they all align with your PC experience. But know that you have time to sort that out. We have at Providence College an optional experience for first-year students. It's called a first-year experience course. It's a one-credit class taught by an instructor that's trained on academic advising, and they will also be your advisor during your first semester. So it's a great opportunity for you to meet with this person weekly, learn about the resources at Providence College, learn about the value of a liberal arts curriculum, make connections to career education, take some really interesting career and major assessment tools, really delve into what it means to be a college student, as well as that major exploration piece. So I'm very biased. I've taught the course before, but many students find that it's a valuable tool for them to help get a jump start into their academic exploration process. I could go on and talk about Undeclared for a while, but I'm more than happy to answer questions when we get to that point.
Cool. Okay, Lynn, can you give us a brief intro about the pre-medical program?
Okay, so my name is Lynne Lawson. I'm actually a physics professor, but I've been the health professions advisor for a little short of 10 years. And the first thing I want to let you know is if you want to go into a health profession, you won't major in that. You won't be a pre-med major or pre-nurse major or anything like that. You'll have an academic major like bio, maybe English, anything that you choose. But my job in my office is to help you navigate what other courses you need to take so that when you're done at PC, you'll be ready to apply to the professional program that you want to enter into. Along the way, we have workshops. I just came from a personal statement workshop for my applicants this year. We have visitors from schools of all types, optometry schools, physician's assistant schools, nursing schools. And so those are some of the types of opportunities that will be available to you during the course of the normal school year. We have a lot of resources available to you to peruse on your own time as well. We have a big Sakai site for students who are interested in this. And, so I don't want to go on for too long, but those are just some of the things that I think are important for you to know if you're interested in any of the health professions and you want to come here to PC.
Excellent, great. Okay, Paul, last but not least.
I am Paul Herron. It's nice to, well, not see you, but to be here. I am a professor in the political science department. I teach classes on law and American politics. Before I went to graduate school to get my PhD, I was a lawyer. And I've been thinking about and helping people apply to law school for almost a decade now. I run the pre-law program at PC. The program itself is it's not a major or a minor, it's an advising program. So you don't have to be in any particular school. You don't have to take any classes. Anyone can access the program. The kind of primary resource of the program is me. It's having someone to help you think about whether or not you want to go to law school, think about what it's like to go to law school, what it's like to be a lawyer, and for help with the application process. I also run workshops on resumes, on personal statements, on best practices for applications. I bring in people from different law schools to talk about, usually admissions representatives to talk about the admissions process. I'll bring in alumni who are practicing law now or in law schools so people can interact and get an idea about things. I run an event with the Career Center every year called the Careers in Law and Government event, where we bring in alums who have a lot of different interesting careers. Many of them have law degrees. And so there's just it's just another resource at PC to kind of help you figure out your way.
So knowing that students have a lot of varied interests in terms of what they end up majoring in, I guess, Paul, can I ask you, is there one particular major that seems to be more common with students that end up going into law school?
I mean, it's more common for me to deal with people from political science or history, but that's not I help students from really every department. And you don't need to study anything particular to go to law school. It's not like with medical school, you want to have there are some classes you need to take. With law school, you can study what you want. So there might be more from those majors, but you do not need to be in those majors to go to law school.
What has there been, I guess, can you recall working with a student that has had, I don't know, what you would call, I guess, an untraditional major that ended up at going to law school, like someone who is like music or art?
I've had people who are bio majors who originally thought that they were going to do medical school or go into research, and they decided they wanted to do law. And there are ways that you can kind of combine those interests, right? So a bio major might, if they wanted to kind of stay in that world, might think about intellectual property or working in the kind of, there's an enormous kind of health law industry that touches a lot of different areas. So there's a lot of I encourage people to be non-traditional, right? Because I mean, one of the things when law schools are looking at your application, they don't want you to just everybody have the same major and the same experience. They want to have some variety in the people they're admitting. So when people ask me what they should major in, I say major in the thing you're interested in, and do well and work hard, and pursue the internship opportunities that you want to pursue, and the rest will go from there. Okay.
Lynn, kind of transitioning back to the pre-medical stuff, I guess similar to my question to Paul, I'm going to guess that most students should major in the sciences if they're going to medical school, but do you see one major that's a little bit more popular for students that are choosing to go to medical school?
I think that at PC, the majority of our students are majoring in biology. There's a lot of overlap between the prerequisite courses and major requirements. That being said, I try to encourage students to select a major that they're interested in, because similar to what Paul said, the medical schools honestly don't care what you major in. What they care about is that you've taken their prerequisites. That is something they want to see, and that you've done well. And they want you to be able to show that you can do a rigorous course load and still perform well. And, nationally, probably only a little more than half of the matriculants to medical school majored in the biological sciences. So that leaves a lot open to other majors. So if a student comes to me and says, well, I really wanted to major in history or English, I say, okay, well, let's sit down and work out how how you're going to work in your prerequisites, and it's absolutely fine.
Awesome, great. Now, I guess one of the popular questions that I get in the admission office all the time that I have to kind of explain in a backwards way. People always want to know what is the acceptance rate of students getting into medical school? And the reason I always I don't know, I guess I bristle at that question is because it's not that simple, right? That we're not sending everyone to medical school, and therefore there's a certain percentage that get in and a certain percentage that do not. The students that want to go to medical school go to medical school. I don't know if you have a different take on that, but that's kind of what I usually talk about.
Yeah, I mean, the question is the bane of my existence. But the thing is, if you think about it, I wonder, why did you ask that question? Because in a sense, it seems to imply that if Providence College had this fantastic acceptance rate, it must be something that we're doing. And at the end of the day, the students are getting themselves into medical school. Of course, we're facilitating the process. We're helping them with the application process. We help them navigate the prerequisites and think about what experiences they should gather. But in the end, it's the student who's doing all the heavy lifting. And, you know, being a scientist, I understand that percentages work on what the number is you divide by. And so if you want me to give a rate, what number do I divide by? Do I divide by the number of students who entered into day one saying they wanted to go to medical school and then compare to how many came out? Because many, many students find along the way that their passions lie elsewhere. You know, in terms of qualified students, you know, we have a very good acceptance rate, you know, between 85 and 90%. You might say, well, why isn't it higher? You know, sometimes students apply before they're ready. You know, so just keep in mind that when you're selecting a school, the school won't make it happen for your student. The student will be the person who brings themselves the success. And we're just there to facilitate that.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's why you're the pre-medical advisor. That's how it
Lots
works.
of practice with that one.
Okay, so Peter, I was kind of one of those students who came in declared. I never changed my major. I was the same major throughout all 4 years. But for someone who has, you know, they're thinking that they might be leaning one particular way, they're undecided right now, how much time do they have before they have to ultimately declare a major?
Great question. So students, if they come in undeclared, they have to declare by their second semester sophomore year. The caveat to that is certain programs are more sequential. So if you are going to be a biology major or in some of the business majors, physics, majors that have a lot of complementary requirements, math and other courses, it's better if you sometimes explore that major first. So you get a good sense of, okay, this is what marketing is like because I'm taking many businesses at once. And then you can make an informed decision of whether you want to shift to something else. It's a hard question to answer though, because there's a whole spectrum of being undeclared. I have students that say I'm undeclared, but when we drill down deeper, they're 98% certain that they're going to be a history major. They're just afraid to sign the paper to actually declare that major. And then there's some students that are entirely undeclared, and you could list any major that we offer and they could see merits and interest in all of those. Sometimes a really cathartic experience for students is to take a list of all of our majors, print it out, and scratch out everything you dislike. Because sometimes there's stress associated with the idea of what do you like, but many times students have a visceral reaction to what they dislike. So I've had some students do it on my desk and they're almost scraping into the wood on certain departments. And I tell them, this is great. You just eliminated 3 whole buildings on campus, and there's themes that connect what you've circled of areas that you didn't carve into my desk with. So what I encourage undeclared students to do, or really any student, is ask a lot of questions. Ask questions of your friends and family. You'll find very quickly people love to talk about themselves, and they will give you insight into, well, in my job, here's what I do. Here are the things on a daily basis. Here are the people that I help. Here are the problems that I solve. Because I find that many times students just don't have enough information yet. As a first generation college student, my dad was a welder and my mom worked in a cafeteria at a school. So I knew about education a bit and I knew about the trades a bit, but I remember being stuck in traffic and wondering, where are all these people going to work? Everyone's not a welder and everyone's not working in a cafeteria. What's out there for jobs? So I really encourage students to start to talk to folks. And that's also something too that I would encourage you when you get to college. When you reach out to faculty, they're gonna wanna share their information about their discipline. Think about it, they're passionate about the area of study. They've been working in it 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and they're gonna wanna talk to you about it and share that experience. So being undeclared is a process, but your ally in this is information. The more information you have, the better you'll feel about your choices, and you'll feel more comfortable also about the professional applications of those majors.
I know you mentioned in your introduction about how everyone has an academic advisor, and this isn't necessarily just specific to students who are undeclared. Everyone that arrives to Providence, whether you have a major that's declared or not, you do have an advisor. Can you just talk a little bit more about the relationship that students have with their advisors?
Yeah, happy to. So in high school, you have a guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor is going to really seek you out in many instances. In college, your academic advisor is an exceptional resource. They are your academic point person that you can go to with various questions. You could go with your academic bucket list, all of the great things you want to do, study abroad, internship, double major, minor. They're a good jumping off point to start that conversation. But the difference between your guidance counselor and your advisor is you need to be more proactive. Your advisor obviously is going to reach out to you at certain points in the semester, but many students make the mistake and they're very passive and not reaching out to their advisor early on. So your advisor actually likes you. They want to help you. They want you to be successful. Advisors get invested. I know with many of my students, even though I work with them as undeclared students in their first and the start of their second year, I'm in it to win it. I get to know them a little bit. I get to learn about their interests. You develop a relationship, and they still follow up with me throughout their time at PC and beyond because I've gotten to know them and get connected. And that's what advisors are looking for. They want to have that relationship and they want to work with students, but it is up to the student to make that contact, to start those conversations and come in with questions. And even if they're really broad of tell me about your discipline, tell me about what alumni are doing now with their major. You want to come in there with a few things that really start to begin that conversation. If you can't think of questions, I always tell students, find your tuition bill, because college is a very expensive experience. It's a very meaningful experience and well worth the money, but that's a good nudge for you to start to think of what are those questions that I want to ask my advisor? What are those things I want to put on my bucket list? So again, early and often talk to your advisor. Every student will have a point person in their discipline and help them navigate their academic experience, but they don't know when you have questions. You got to seek them out.
So we've been doing these Zoom panels pretty much throughout the week, focusing on different academic aspects of Providence College. And I think the theme that has emerged is that our professors and staff members on campus really like to interact with our students. I feel like the relationship building that happens between our students and advisors and professors is one of the strengths of PC. So I'm hoping that we can go around and you can give an example of a time where you were working one-on-one with a student and you really either saw some growth in them or you had a really cool success story that you'd like to share. Just something to kind of underscore that community atmosphere. So I don't know if someone has a story off the top of their head that they want to go, that they want to just go first, or I can throw it to whoever would like to start that one. Paul, go ahead.
I mean, I can give one from today. So,
all right.
I have lots of these. I mean, it's my favorite thing about being a professor is getting to know students. Of course, I like talking about my subjects and what I study, and I'm very interested in politics and American political history and law. But I love advising. I love helping people kind of figure out their path in life. It's wonderful. One of my students I was talking to today, she graduated 2 years ago, and she had wanted to go to law school. She decided to take some time and work, and she's been working at a law firm as a paralegal for the last 2 years. And she just is now in the midst of trying to decide where to go to law school. And she's got a full ride at Suffolk. She's got a full ride at American. She's got money from BC. She's got money from Northeastern. She's in at BU. It's just such a happy conversation to be having. And the other thing that was so satisfying about talking to her is one of the things that I really encourage students to do is to think about taking time to work between college and law school. And she just had this great appreciation for that. I'm the pre-law advisor while you're at PC, but I also work every fall helping students who have already graduated. And so, and she's one of those students. And so, it was just a very happy phone call of somebody who's been pleased with their path and now has a lot of really good options.
That's a great story. I like that one.
Yeah, I think that watching our students develop as scholars is really fun. In my department, I teach my majors when they come in as freshmen, and then I actually will see them in their sophomore year in a course that I teach in the spring. And it's always just really fun to see how they've grown since they were freshmen. And I really enjoy that. And similar to what Paul was saying, a plug for our advising program, and we also work with graduates because it's actually quite common for students to apply to medical school after taking a gap year or two. And I was working with one particular student who had applied when she was a junior, between her junior and senior year, which is the earliest you could apply to medical school, but it's very difficult to get in at that stage because you don't have all the experiences that an older applicant would have. And, you know, I tried to caution her against applying at that time, but she insisted to move forward, and she wasn't successful, even though she, you know, had a strong academic record. And so she worked for a couple years in research and applied in this most recent cycle. And I got an email from her last week that she got into an MD PhD program at Tulane, which was, and those emails are everything. When they reach there, and they always thank me, and I feel like saying, I didn't do anything. Like, well, yeah, I helped with your committee letter, but like I didn't do all the heavy lifting that you had to do to achieve that. And it's great to see.
Yeah, so one of my favorite stories is I worked with a student. I've worked with many students that go into a major thinking it's the only path to go into a certain profession. And I really love starting to break down that idea of you have to major in X to be Y, because it's just not that straight of a shoot. But I had one student that she had it in her mind that she had to be a marketing major. And marketing at PC is a great major, but it's very analytics based. It's very quantitative based. And she just really disliked her first semester. She didn't like the classes. She didn't like the coursework. She didn't really know exactly what marketing was going into it, but she liked the idea of it. So we had a conversation and many conversations. And after a lot of questions and getting to know her well, she started to share how much she loved art. But she had this fear that she wouldn't be able to get a job and pay the bills with art. And I was very eager to dissuade her of that notion and let her know of all the opportunities. So long story short, she decided to switch into art. And even though she had a different advisor at that point, she would come back often and she would check in with me and share her victories. She would talk about the projects that she's working on. She emailed me and she actually sent me a postcard when she was studying abroad, and she was sharing how moving it was to be able to actually see the art that she was studying in classes and seeing it in Italy. And then she got an internship over the summer, and she was working in Boston doing public art, outside big art displays. And she was over the moon and just so thankful that she was going towards her passion. And I'm getting chills talking about it, but she was excited to wake up and go to work. And it was something that was so great and so rewarding for me. And like Dr. Lawson, she was thanking me for helping. I was like, I just listened to you and then asked you a few questions and directed you to resources. But it was so much fun for me to see a student like that think that they wanted to go in one direction, get more information, and then just fall on her feet so well and just be so delighted with her choices. And that's not an anomaly. This happens often where you make a connection with folks on campus and then they connect you to someone else and the ball starts rolling and you have all these opportunities in front of you. And it goes back to my earlier point is all you got to do is ask, and we'll bend over backwards to help you, but we don't know you have questions. We don't know what you're passionate about until you start talking to us. And many times you're going to try to sneak out of our office because we just get so excited. So just talk to your advisor, talk to folks, and we're more than happy to help you.
All very good stories. Those are you all have good storytelling ability. I appreciate that. That helps me out a lot. So thank you to the three of you for helping us out tonight and talk a little bit more about the roles that you have at Providence College. You are seeing some other students pop up on the screen. Some of you may be familiar with these students. It's good to see all of you. It's pretty cool. So again, just thank you for the professors. If you want to hang out for a little bit, that's fine. If you need to get going, that's okay too. I don't see any Q&A or questions through the Q&A. So you've all done a very good job about talking about your roles at Providence College. And so tonight, as promised in my intro, I wanted to kind of transition to giving you the student perspective. So I will wave goodbye to the professors that you see. Thanks again. And I will now kind of turn it over to the students. And it's good to see your faces. Hannah, especially good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while, so it's good. Welcome back. So I think the easiest thing to do is to start off by just giving an introduction about yourself. If you want to say your name, what your major is, where you're from, and then we can kind of get the ball rolling, and I'll kind of just ask you some questions from there on. So Yulitsa, you're in the top left corner. That's my bias where I just like to kick things off. So do you want to get us started?
Of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Yulitsa Montesino. I am from Cranston, Rhode Island. I am a political science major and a philosophy minor, and I'm also a junior at PC.
Deirdre, can you go next?
Yes. So, hi guys. My name is Deirdre. I am a sophomore here at Providence College. I am from Walpole, Massachusetts, and I am a biology and health policy and management double major.
Fantastic. Hannah, can you go next?
Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah Valente. I graduated from Providence College in May. I double majored in theology and health policy and management. I'm from Hoboken, New Jersey, and I'm currently in my first year of law school at Elon.
Nice. Awesome. Ben, can you go next?
Sure. My name is Dr. Ben Saviat. I am a graduate from 2009, which I guess is the Wayback Machine to all of you guys now. And I'm a practicing foot and ankle surgeon in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Ben, I'm 06, so you're not the old person on the panel. I still hold that title, so yeah, no worries. Okay, Laura, can you go next?
Sure. Hi, my name is Laura Frockwitz. I'm from Newbury, Massachusetts. I had majored in biology at Providence. I graduated in 2018. I actually currently work at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston, and I will be attending medical school this summer.
Fantastic. Congrats. And Caroline, can you bring us home?
Hello, I'm Caroline. I'm a sophomore here at Providence, and I am a global studies and social work double major, and I'm from Chelmsford, Massachusetts.
Awesome. Okay, so Caroline, I actually kind of want to start back with you because you arrived undeclared, right? You did not have a major in mind. So can you just talk a little bit about like what that experience was like and how you ended up finding your major?
Yeah, so I just declared in the winter. So I was undeclared for a year and a half here at Providence. And like Peter Palumbo was saying, there's kind of a spectrum of what undeclared looks like. I was on the complete end of the spectrum where I was like, I have absolutely no idea. All my friends would make fun of me because first semester, freshman year, I was taking accounting and acting and education classes. I like dipped my toe into every single department here. But honestly, one of the biggest things was just the support that I had here on campus, reaching out to my advisor, talking with upperclassmen here and what they were doing. So I said I'm a double major here, so it can be overwhelming and there might feel like a rush to declare, but I'm double majoring and have plenty of time to get everything in, even as a sophomore. So patience with it is important, but I loved coming in undeclared. It gave me a lot of opportunity to explore a lot of things.
You went from 0 majors to 2 majors very quickly. Look at that. And so as a global studies major, I know one of the requirements is that you actually have to study abroad. So do you have an idea of where you're going to go?
Yeah, so with COVID, things are a little crazy figuring that out, but I'm planning on going summer going into senior year. So one thing that's nice about Providence is a lot of people do go during the academic year, but with the double major, and I'm also an RA on campus, working with my global studies advisor, I figured summer was the best time for me. And I plan to go on to a Spanish speaking country to kind of help with my Spanish and going into social work and just figuring out, getting the most out of my experience and how it will help me in my career later on.
Awesome. Okay, can I throw it back to you, Lisa? And can you just share a little bit about your academic journey at Providence?
Of course. So I came into Providence already knowing kind of like where I wanted, like what subject area I wanted to really like focus on. Political science major, pre-law track, very, standard history lover, that type of person. So I came in as a political science major, fell in love with it, and I'm still that major, picked up a philosophy minor. Um, and I know Dr. Paul Herron was just here. There's a lot of like faculty members within the department who can really help you branch out, but also like hone in on whatever focus you want to do. So I know now that I'm more confident about law school, but that wasn't without trying, the international realm or other subject areas within the major first to really see what I'm passionate about. So.
Very cool. Okay, now I'm going to throw it to Hannah, since you are like the natural continuation of this, being a 1L right now. But so when did you know that you wanted to go to law school?
So I've wanted to go to law school my whole life. I just didn't really know exactly like what kind of law I wanted to practice until I kind of got to Providence. But I came into Providence declared theology simply because I thought it would help me with like reading and writing. And so far, after the first couple months, I can definitely say I'm so happy that I majored in theology because of all I did for 4 years was read and write. And it's prepared me so much. But then I also had like some interest in health law. So after I took HPM 101 after my freshman year, I picked up the second major in health policy management, took health law, and that kind of reaffirmed the track. But yeah, I knew from the get-go before college and in high school that I wanted to go to law school and I wanted to go right after I graduated. So I kind of knew what like steps I need to take from the start.
Can you talk about the advising, like specifically that you got that helped you like choose a law school and like, or at least like narrow your list and stuff like that?
Definitely. So I met with Professor Herron starting pretty regularly during my sophomore year, just kind of narrowing down what kind of schools based on my LSAT score, like what would be a good fit, what schools I want to get into, and meeting with him and kind of like focusing on like what is the best like law school match definitely helped because I had no idea where I wanted to be geographically or like what, like a big school, small school. But I met with him starting sophomore year, which is a little early, but I think it definitely helped kind of ease the process. And then I had all my applications ready to go by like the middle of senior year, which was great. So I got everything in before March, before the world kind of shut down. So then once COVID happened, I was just kind of waiting to hear back from law schools. But yeah, I definitely started meeting with him during my sophomore year and then kind of the process let itself go through there.
Fantastic. Okay. So I guess for our current students, for Deirdre, Yelitsa, and Caroline, one of the things that our professors talked about, or I guess alluded to, was different internships, or in the realm of sciences, we're talking about research opportunities too. So are the three of you, do you have internships lined up? Do you have research stuff lined up? And then I guess I'll ask the same question to our alums about their undergrad experience, but how about the current students if they want to tackle that first?
So as of right now, I do not have an internship, but with my HPM major, I believe all HPM majors are required to have an internship their junior year. And so it kind of gives you like that field experience, which will be very helpful. And then also the HPM department sent us a bunch of internships we could apply to this summer. And so I am looking at those right now, but they are extremely helpful. And then with the biology department too, you can easily get into research your freshman year. I haven't got into research yet just because I've had a really heavy course load, but I'll definitely be interested in the future just to kind of get like that experience that will help me after I graduate.
Great.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the career office because since freshman year, I've been meeting regularly with Liz Lombard. She's one of the workers, and it's honestly been like like every year you're struggling, kind of seeing what you want to do for internships in Rhode Island and stuff. And she really connected me with like the Rhode Island State House, and also the political science department itself too has also helped me get an internship with the Providence City Council as well. So really just connecting with faculty, they will literally take you to the avenues that you will find so many opportunities. So those are just a few of the things that I'm doing currently.
So the social work department, my majors are not among the sciences, but for social work, we have field placement junior and senior year, and we work with the department to figure those out. And then global studies is more kind of you work through your own looking for internships along with reaching out for support. So I plan to do my internships for global studies when I go abroad, and maybe this summer too, while I do my social work ones during the year. But I'll also be able to still do RA during the year, which will be nice.
Excellent. Okay, so how about our alumni? Did you do any sort of research or internships while you were an undergrad? Laura, I saw you shaking your head first, so I guess I'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. I can go ahead. So I personally didn't do any kind of bench research. I was more interested in kind of the clinical aspect. So I actually did an internship that I did for class credit my senior year. I worked at Hasbro Children's Hospital as a research assistant. And so I was able to work with the doctors there and kind of meet patients and have that kind of real firsthand experience in the hospital, which is amazing. And my advisor was Dr. Toth, who is the chair of the biology department, and he was awesome, really supportive, and it was just like a fun experience my senior year to do that and kind of actually like put my foot in the door for kind of having that experience applying to jobs later.
So I didn't do any research while I was on campus. The summers while I was at Providence, I did research at the Tufts Vet School actually on Lyme disease and tularemia, and half of that was benchtop research and the other half of that was field work, which if you work with ticks is you're basically the college kid that's tick bait. So I was tick bait for a couple summers, which was awesome. Career-wise, it really just demonstrated to me that I did not want to be an academic biologist. I realized that was not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do research. I wanted to be interacting with other people, not a microscope all day.
So, since we have an actual doctor on the panel, that's always impressive. So can you talk a little bit about the help that you got as you were applying to medical school specifically?
Yeah, so this conversation starts with academically, I was a bit of a bum my freshman and sophomore year. I will readily admit that. Success is possible if you're a bum. I didn't get my first A in college until second semester sophomore year, and I still went to medical school. That more to Dr. Lawson's point of it has more to do with the person than it has to do with the acceptance rate for the school. Academically, I sort of underestimated what college was going to be like, and I blew it. And on the tail end of that, we went year by year, my GPA really blossomed from there. Junior and senior year, I was just like found my stride, and that was good. But then I did a year of graduate school in Massachusetts after Providence. I ran cross country and track at PC, so that was where a lot of my focus was early on. I kind of didn't get where I needed to be academically until a little later, and then I burnt up some of my cross country and track eligibility in grad school, but also bolstered myself academically. And that whole process through PC while struggling, and then through grad school, I got a ton of support from Carol Crafts, who's no longer at PC. She was the pre-health advisor before, but when she left right around when I graduated, but Dr. Lawson took over, and she was there cheering me on the whole time, telling me what I needed to be doing to get accepted, and how I was stacking up numbers wise for the MCAT and with my GPA and with grad school GPA. So she was very helpful the whole way throughout. Had a couple other non-major advisors and sort of mentors that I was close with. One's a Dominican, and just a sort of a life advisor, like, you'll be okay, just figure it out.
So I think, one of the impressive parts for me about being an alum at Providence is seeing campus change and grow and improve. And so, Ben, I know that when you were a student here, the science facility was not completed. I mean, it just got finished like 2 years ago. So, apologies for that. I didn't have Peterson, so that's my gripe, I guess. But if you are interested in sciences, or if you're taking classes in the science field, then you have a pretty state-of-the-art facility on campus. I know, Deirdre, can you talk a little bit about the new science facility and what classes are like in there?
Yes, I love the science building. I spent so many nights in there freshman year while taking general chemistry. And I also had my general chemistry labs in there. And then right now I'm taking general bio. And so my lectures are virtual, but they're live. And then my labs are in person. And my labs are in the older part of the science building, but it's not as updated as the new part, but the new part is just so nice. There's so much high-tech technology, and there's so many different academic rooms that you can go in and all these different classrooms. And I so take advantage of going into academic buildings, especially to study and just kind of get a room by my own, because I feel like I cannot focus when I do homework or study with my friends or just in the library. I get so distracted. And so I would be in the science building freshman year, probably until 2 o'clock studying for chemistry. And it's just so bright and lively in there too. And I just cannot say like anything bad about it. I love it.
You know, I was an English major, so in the interest of full disclosure, I tend to stay as far away from the sciences as possible. But the new building is pretty tempting, like for me to just go take a walk and check it out. It is one of the cool aspects of campus in the past couple of years. Okay, so you've definitely learned a lot about a lot of different academic programs on campus. I want to kind of ask a general Providence College question, and that way just to get some of your feedback and your own experiences. But can each of you talk about, I guess, your favorite academic class that you had while a student at PC, or a favorite experience either inside or outside the classroom? I think that's kind of helpful to know. We've talked a lot about the academic stuff, but if you have a favorite experience from outside the classroom or you have a favorite class, I think that's helpful to know as well. So Yulitza, can you start us off?
Yeah, so my favorite class that I've ever taken so far was Latin American politics with Dr. Rio Francos. I think it who taught it as well, because she was just, you can tell that she was so passionate about the subject matter and she really cares, and her office hours are always open, and she was very understanding as well with the class, and it just made the class so much better. Already the subject matter was interesting, but you know, the experience in the class, and also it was a lot, you know, discussion based, so I got to interact with my peers also within the class instead of more lecture based type of style. So yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite classes that I've taken so far.
Cool. Caroline, can you go next?
Yeah, so one of my favorite classes was my first global studies class. I took it again when I was exploring. I didn't even know what the global studies department was. Just an upperclassman I knew recommended it. And it was first semester freshman year, and it was when I first really felt like in control of my own education. I feel like a lot of K through 12, you're taking very specific classes, and in global studies, a lot of the faculty members have this ideology of learning with the students, and they let us take charge of, okay, so we have these assigned readings, but what direction do we want to take about the discussions in classes? And we also did a lot of work with the community in that class. We worked with an immigration site nearby. So that was just a lot of figuring out a lot of our own passions in terms of what we see in the world, and having like professors that really empowered me to take control of that and reach out to them when I needed support in it.
Awesome. Laura, how about you?
Sure. So one of my favorite classes would probably be a colloquium that I took. So I was in the honors program, and I took a class with one of our professors, Dr. Grace, who's worked at PC for probably about 50 years. So it was called The Victorians. And so we learned about, you know, art and culture from 1900 to 1950. And it was just a really unique experience to kind of have that and learn about things that were outside of my major. And also it was just really fun having those discussions with my classmates. There was probably a group of 10 of us in the class, so it was really intimate discussions. And Dr. Grace even brought us kind of afternoon English tea one day, so that was really, really fun. So it was a great experience, and I really enjoyed that.
Not a fan of English tea, but Victorians, I can get behind that. That's cool. Hannah, can you go next?
Sure. My favorite class was also a colloquium. I took history of sports, and that class completely like changed my life, I would say. I mean, that kind of solidified that I wanted to pursue a career in sports. I gained so many connections through the class was taught by a sports agent. I kind of decided that I wanted to pursue being a sports agent as well. I also managed the basketball team all 4 years at Providence. So just like taking that class at PC with Father Vidmar. And I also there was this older gentleman who went to Providence who just sat in on my class, Dave Lucier, and he's just a Friar legend. So that class just completely solidified, this is the career I want. This is the best school ever. The class is just amazing. And it's kind of looked upon as not a serious class, but for me, it was the best experience on the planet. So I love history of sports.
I would have loved to have taken that colloquium had it been offered for me, but alas, it was not. Ben, can you go next?
Yeah, sure. So I guess probably the most foundational academic class for me was, it's going to sound ridiculous for a guy who's a foot surgeon, was honors theology my sophomore year, because that's where I connected with Father Seaver, who ended up being a real mentor for me for the next 2 years after that, where I was first A in college, second semester sophomore year. So that he just really focused more on intellectual curiosity and kind of seeing where that would go, more so than a hard curriculum that we would follow week to week. So just sort of sparked that intellectual curiosity and pushed you more in that direction rather than here memorize a bunch of stuff.
Awesome. Okay, Deirdre, bring us home.
Okay, so my favorite class so far has been American Healthcare Systems, which is also the intro class for health policy management. And just like Caroline, I came in undeclared to Providence College, and I didn't declare until last semester in the fall. And so I was just like, okay, I'll try out in an HPM class. I had no idea what the major was. I'd never heard about it before. And then I took HPM 101 with Dr. Tuba Agarton, and I absolutely love the class. She's my advisor right now. And honestly, the reason why I declared HPM, and she actually wrote my recommendation to go abroad next spring in the public health program in Copenhagen. So I absolutely loved the class and just learning about the different healthcare systems, and especially America's, because I knew with biology and HPM, I might not want to go into pre-med. And so just by taking that HPM class, it kind of broadened my options, and I could kind of work in the administrative side of hospitals.
Okay, so I have one more big question, and then hopefully we get some Q&A from the students. If not, we can kind of wrap up a little early. But for our current students, what are you most looking forward to in the rest of your time at PC? And for our alums, what do you miss the most about being a student at Providence College? I know it's kind of a tough one because there's a lot to talk about there. But I think we'll start with the current students. If any of you, I'm not going to call out an order because I know it's a big question and we didn't really I kind of sprung that on everyone. But if one of the current students has something that they can start, we can just go from there.
I think given the circumstances now, especially, I'm most looking forward to, getting back in the classroom, getting back on campus. I've been remote, so very different learning experience, but that's one thing I'm looking forward to. Amongst also senior year is just going to be awesome. This is the year you kind of wait for since freshman year. So really getting back to school, experiencing senior year, and, wrapping things up really nicely before graduation. I'm really looking forward to that.
Nice. Awesome. Caroline or Deirdre?
Yeah, I can touch on that. I think similar. I'm looking forward to getting back to all the connections here. Even though I am on campus, it's a bit tough not being fully in person. I have some in-person classes, but I know last year, and when I was applying to Providence College, what drew me here was the people. I just felt that community when I came on campus, and as a freshman, I completely felt that. I just felt completely surrounded by so much support all the time, and still obviously feel that, but it's not as prominent in my face. So excited to kind of be back into that full community and just further those connections. Everyone here is incredible, and I feel like a better person every day just being around all the people here. So
I agree with what everyone has been saying. It's almost just kind of nostalgic because I experienced normalcy my freshman year, obviously until it got cut off last spring. And so this is the longest I've ever been at Providence College right now. But I just loved getting involved freshman year, and sadly it got cut short. I love intramurals, and I'm also on the club soccer team. And so I just think that getting like back in normalcy, like hopefully in the fall, especially with all in-person classes, it'll feel more normal. And then hopefully I'll be able to go abroad next spring, my junior year. And so I think that will definitely like make my experience at PC.
So just in case, I know that for all of you attending, you're all invited students. Just in case you were wondering, the college announced, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, that our plan for the fall is to open as normally as possible. We want to be having as many in-person classes as we can. I think with the vaccines that are coming out now, that's becoming more and more of a reality for the fall and this upcoming September. So I think that just even that announcement has created kind of a buzz on campus that everyone's pretty excited to do things a little bit more normally than some of the remote stuff. So I know I'm excited to be in person in the fall, and I know that our students are too. Okay, alumni, I know this is a big ask, but if you had something that you really missed about your time at Providence, what would that be?
I can start. There are so many things that I miss about PC. It was an amazing experience, but I would say the biggest thing is kind of like everyone's saying, the community and being surrounded by like a big family. I loved, being in a dorm and being able to go next door, and my best friends were right there, and just being able to go to the dining hall with everybody, because obviously, in post-grad life, we're kind of all around, especially like in the country, or some people are in different cities. So it was just nice to have that big family. And I mean, I still have it. I see my friends often, and we have so many memories about our time at PC. So I really enjoyed it, and, enjoy it while you can.
Hannah, oh, sorry, Hannah, go ahead.
Having graduated obviously last year, I can go on for hours with all the things I missed, but I think the most important thing that I definitely felt, and I still talk about all the time, is my housemates and I and my friends all at Providence were so competitive when it came to intramurals, and we would legitimately play everything. So I think it's so funny, just like not experiencing that as an adult, and just trying to explain like the culture of intramurals at Providence to like people who don't know about it. It's like a very just fun experience to me, like trying to explain how big of a deal it is, or at least it was to me and my friends. Definitely miss. I want to find like a rec league, an adult rec league that I continue playing sports in.
Miss my youth. No, I'm just kidding. I don't miss it that much. But it's definitely the community, like all the opportunities you have to be involved at PC. For the pre-health kids, if you're just looking for a piece of paper as your ticket to ride to go to med school, PC is probably not the place. Like, you're going to get the most out of PC if you're doing clubs, if you're in organizations, if you volunteer, if you play a sport, if you do intramurals. You really, if you're treating PC as a means to an end, it's probably not the place for you at the end of the day, because the people who love it the most and get the most out of it are the ones who are really involved and do a lot. And you never know what you're going to be interested in until you're in it.
Very true. Good advice, everyone. I like that. So I don't see any questions from the attendees, which I'm going to take as a sign that you've all done an excellent job of describing academic life at Providence College. So I just want to take this time to thank all of you for donating some of your time on a Wednesday evening. The days all blend together. I just had to like double check that today is actually Wednesday. So yes, I think that's right. So again, thank you to everyone who has attended. Thank you to all of our panelists. I wish you well in the rest of your PC careers, and I wish our alums the best in the rest of their professional careers. If you ever have any other questions about Providence College, feel free to reach out to us in the admission office, and we can connect you with other students and alumni in different majors and in different programs. I think as we've kind of shown tonight, our students and alumni are always willing to help out and to talk about Providence College and to describe the experience here on campus. And so we'll be happy to make sure that you have as much information as you need in order to make your decision about whether or not to call Providence College home for the next 4 years. So thank you again. We wish you the best. Stay safe, stay healthy, and most importantly, go Friars. Take care, everyone. Have a good night.